down like we usually do to get started. Yeah, feel free. Feel free to spread out. We're going to get started laying down, and I just want to encourage you to have your comfortable things around you. So if you happen to have a bolster or a blanket or a pillow or really anything that's going to help you feel a little bit more grounded and settled, I just want to invite you to do that, to find those things. And so this class is called I Touch Myself. Mainly because we're going to be spending a whole lot of time touching our own body with our hands. Okay, but before we even do that, I think it's kind of nice to just like stop for a moment. Okay, to sort of stop and to take some time to make the transition from everything that you've been doing today, all of the things that you had going on. It's a Friday, so there's a chance that like maybe you were working, okay, or going to school or whatever it was. Okay, who knows? Maybe you were sitting home sipping tea, reading a book. It could have been something that felt really nice to you or something that was stressful, but whatever it was, just begin to move away from it a little bit. Moving away from all of the thought processes that you had to engage in today. And all the problems that you had to solve, no matter how big or small they were. Good, and just let your breath be sort of important now, instead of an afterthought. Good, or maybe not even a thought at all. Good, listen to the sound of this next inhale. And then to the sound of the exhale. Good, and just listening and allowing your body to settle here. Good, and here lying on your back, I just want you to think about taking your hands out, your arms out, so that your palms are facing up somehow. Maybe your arms are alongside your body, or maybe even out and overhead. And then just notice the palms of your hands and any sensation you might feel there right now. Good. Notice your thumbs. And notice your index fingers. And your middle fingers. And then your ring fingers. And then notice how your little fingers feel. The backs of your hands as they touch down to the ground. Good. Wrists. And notice your forearms here. And your elbows. And then your upper arms. And your shoulders. And now let's notice the chest and the upper back. You notice your heart. Good. And in our yoga practice, we often think of our hands as being an extension of our heart. So as we move through all of these little experiments today, these little bits of acupressure and self-massage in poses or on our backs, just remember that it's an act of self-love. Okay, to touch your own body. And an act of self-warmth and warming. And just a couple more breaths here on your back. If your arms aren't out past your head, it might be nice to do that now. And finding just a little bit of space in the shoulders and the underarms. Good. And then from here, you might interlace your fingers, press your palms out, and just kind of take a big stretch. Hello. Good. And as you take that big stretch, maybe rock your head side to side a little bit and soften your jaw. All right. And then let's take a moment to roll up on our side. Curling up into the fetal position. Good. Hi, Morgan. Yay. Welcome. Good. And as you find the fetal position, feel the back plane of your body. And think about taking just a few deep breaths into maybe the middle of your back. Okay, this part of us that really hangs on to stress, this part of our body that houses our kidneys and our adrenal glands. Okay, just a couple of moments with some breath in that direction. Last breath or two. Good. And then eventually we're going to sit up. And so make it sort of a relaxed trip up to a seat. Morgan, I feel bad. You can lay down for as long as you want. Good. All right. So welcome. We made it. All right. How's everybody in the room feeling? Okay. Yeah. Okay. If anybody has anything that they want to throw in the chat at any point in time, you're welcome to do that. I imagine I'll be looking at the screen a bit. So just wanted to toss that out there. All right, so we're going to begin with just creating a little bit of warmth in our hands. So let's rub our hands together a whole lot. Let's create that warmth and that friction. Good, and this one reminds me of that painting, The Scream. So we're just going to take the heels of our hands up to our hairline or the top of our forehead and just pull your hands down your face. Okay, let your jaw kind of drag down. Good. And let's do that a couple more times, creating that heat. And then drag those hands on down. Good. And then one more time. All right. And drag those hands back down the face. And then let's let our hands sit on top of our heart for a moment. Good. And with your hands on top of your heart, just softly broaden across the collarbones. All right, see if you can sit into the back of your body a little bit. And then feel the center of the chest lift up. Yeah. Good. And then from here, we're just going to kind of move our hands from the center of the chest and out to the side. It's kind of these broad sweeps here. Kind of a weird time to wear a scarf. And so just taking the hands, sweeping them side to side. Good, this little something. Wonderful. And then we're going to take our fingers and just dig them into the sides of the chest. And I've worn this leotard so I can like kind of get in there and show you. This is like right near the underarm, like right in from your underarm on the side of your chest. And we're gonna do this on both sides. And what we're looking for here is like a little bit of a weird feeling tender spot. Is everybody getting one of those? Yeah, it's in there. These are our lung 1 and 2 points. So let's just take a few moments with our fingers kind of digging into these points. And when I say dig, it doesn't have to be like, I don't know, like a huge amount of pressure. Maybe it's more like a cat making biscuits or something like that. And just a few breaths, and see if you can keep your breath mostly moving in and out of the nose. Good. I was thinking that we would practice this Marma protocol or Ayurvedic acupressure protocol before we start our yoga practice, kind of to wake our bodies up a little bit. This always wakes me up. For sure. Good. If you've been to my Sunday morning classes in the last like 2 years, you know that I've also been a fan of kind of like digging into the underarms, and we're gonna do that next. So let's just take our fingers into the underarms and press in and kind of dig around in there. Okay, again, by digging around, maybe it's making biscuits, maybe it's just squeezing with your thumb and the rest of your fingers, and just giving yourself that little bit of a massage on your heart 1 point. Good. A few more breaths. See if you can let your shoulder blades release a little bit. I know when I get into my underarms, my shoulders are like, ah! So take them down a touch. Good, and then let's take a moment to bring our left hand over onto our right shoulder and just give it a little circular massage, just a little something, a little squeeze. We're gonna squeeze down the biceps and the triceps. When you get to your elbow, give it a little bit of a circular massage, just a little something. And then we're gonna squeeze down the forearm. Good, and then that circular massage around your wrist when you get there. And then let's take care of our hands. So why don't we grab a hold of that right thumb with your left hand and just give it a little like, a little twist. Maybe it'll start cracking, maybe not. Yeah, let's move up to the index finger. Give the index finger a little bit of a twist. Good, and then the middle finger, a little bit of attention, a little bit of a twist. Something about this finger is like very satisfying for me. It just feels like real good. Good. For all the 12-year-old boy reasons, but also just for real. It feels nice. Good, and then our ring fingers. So let's give those a little squeeze and a little twist. All right, and then our little fingers. Same thing, just a little something. All right, and then let's take our hands back onto our heart and pause for a moment. All right, you might close your eyes, they might be open. And a few moments just to notice the right arm, the right hand. So all along our arm we have our heart meridian, our lung meridian, pericardium, okay, triple burner. These are all different energy channels in our body according to traditional Chinese medicine. So by stimulating all of the tissue along the arm, it said that we are stimulating those meridians to open up and flow a little bit better. Good, so let's take our right hand over onto our left shoulder and give that one a squeeze. Good, maybe that little bit of like a circular massage, a little something. And then we'll squeeze down the biceps and the triceps. Good, and then down into your elbow. Good, and squeeze down the forearm all the way around. circular massage around your wrist. All right, and then into that thumb. Squeeze and twist. And the index finger, same thing. All right, middle finger. And a nice twist. And then your ring finger. And your little finger. Good. And then for a moment here, let's just take our hands down to our knees and fold forward just a tiny little bit. Thinking about bringing your shoulder blades towards each other as you fold forward. So kind of dropping the heart down. Good. And then let's scoop the heart up and look up here and just roll the head around a couple of times. Roll the head in the other direction. All right, and then let's come back to center, sitting up nice and tall. Let's rub our tummies. So just rubbing side to side, up and down, whatever suits you. There's no wrong way to rub your belly, like just ask your cat or your dog. Hey, they love it, you love it. Good. I don't think we rub our own bellies enough. I've been doing it a lot. I don't know, maybe over the last year or so, and it feels like so soothing to me because I'm tight. But I think it was uncomfortable at first, actually, for a little while. Like, oh, wow, why have I never done this? I'm almost 40. I have never rubbed my own belly. What the heck? Good. So let's take maybe like another minute or so just to kind of rub side to side. And take the heels of the hands maybe around the sides of your rib cage as you rub side to side. And around the sides of your hips. Good. Last few breaths. Right, and then just go ahead and release the hands down, and we'll roll the head around again here. Right, and then let's leave the chin in towards the chest, and we're going to take our fingers and bring them up onto the back of the neck on either side of your spine, and just sort of walk them up and down, almost like you're playing the piano here a little bit. The tiny piano of your cervical spine. And then just notice how the muscles feel in the back of the neck. Good. Can you feel the bone? Does it feel tense here? Does it feel all right? Good. Just a few more breaths. And then we'll bring our heads back up. And let's take a moment to bring our thumbs to just underneath our eyebrows. And then we're going to squeeze our eyebrows with our thumbs and our index fingers. Okay, from the middle all the way out to the edges. Yeah. If you spend lots of time looking at screens, I suggest a little bit of this. Yeah. Just a little bit of that squeeze of the eyebrows. Good. You can even get that thumbs kind of into the eye socket a little bit. Good. Just a few more breaths, squeezing along those eyebrows. Good. And then just take the index and the middle finger of the right hand and place those fingertips on your third eye point in between your eyebrows. And then the index and middle finger of your left hand right onto the center of your chest. And just for a moment, sit here, just holding these 2 points. And notice your heart beating. breath swirling in through the nose and around the sinuses and back out again. Good. A few more breaths here. Okay, and then we're going to take our index and middle fingers of both hands and bring them to the third eye point, just in between the eyebrows. And let's slide those fingers above the eyebrows down into the temples. Good, we're just going to keep on doing that, maybe 5 times, something like that. And then we're going to move halfway up the forehead to the middle and just slide along the middle and down into the temples. And a few more times just like that. And then all the way up to the top of your forehead, across, and then down into the temples again. Maybe 5 times like that. So these points on your forehead are known as the doors of perception. Just kind of like that, is it Huxley, the Huxley book? But it can get really clouded and weird up in our minds sometimes. And think about what your face looks like when you're feeling that way. Yeah, so this is that self-soothing action to kind of get you out of that headspace. And then we're just going to rake across the forehead with the 3 middle fingers. Okay, raking from the center and then on down. Good, and then let's take those fingers and just bring them down into our jaw. And we're going to kind of press those 3 fingers into the sides of the jaw. And it doesn't have to be anything super intense. We're just kind of feeling for like what's going on there. Right, sometimes I'm like clenching and I don't even realize it. Good, so those 3 fingers are going to be in that joint. And your thumb will come onto the underside of your jaw, and then let's just kind of slide everything down towards the chin. And then everything on back up again. Good, let's move back and forth a few times. And maybe another 2 or 3 sweeps here of your jawline. Good, and then eventually, this is probably my favorite part, we're going to come back up here and then pull your earlobes down. Oh, yes. And so maybe again, this is kind of like the equivalent of a cat making biscuits. Maybe it's like one earlobe, then the other earlobe, or maybe you're pulling them both down evenly at the same time. Everybody has their own style. Good. And then as you're ready, we're going to kind of move around the ear. And as you move out to the sides, pull out to the sides, like pull them straight out. Yeah, as you move up and around, pull them kind of out and up. And then once you make it to the top of the ear, pull straight up. You might even slip your thumb into that little crease there, yeah. Into your Shen Men point or your spirit point. And pulling up, and then we're going to pull out to the sides again, and let's just work our way around the ear a few times. Another nice benefit to this this particular thing, this ear pulling, is that it can help us to feel more able to listen. My teacher said that my Marma teacher told me that they used to pull kids' ears to get them to listen in school. Which sounds pretty abusive and weird, but at the same time, I guess there's some basis in reality there. think this can actually help us feel more able to listen. And I've noticed that for myself. And my kids. I'll do this before bed with them. I'll pull their ears and they love it. So maybe just one more time around the circle, or the half circle. Good. And then we're going to take a quick moment just to bring our hands down and to roll our head and neck around again. Because sometimes when we have our hands up for that long, our shoulders are like, no. So let's just give them a little something here. Rolling the chin down towards the chest, the ear towards the shoulder. Another little added thing you might toss in here is to take one of your hands and press the fingers up into that like meaty bit in between your neck and your shoulder as you roll your head around. And just notice how it feels. I think we all have a little bit of like tightness or weirdness up here. I'm pretty sure I'm not alone. And so a little pressure and that slight movement. You might even sort of play that muscle like a piano, kind of walking your fingers up and down. Good, and then the other side, same thing. A little bit of fingertips into that meaty bit, into your trapezoid muscle. Good, and then let's take our hands and we're going to slide them down onto our hearts. And this is where it gets a little bit like, I don't know, I like it. Maybe it's a love it or hate it thing. But we're going to take our fingertips and kind of dig them in. Again, digging maybe very gently into those little spaces in between your ribs. Yeah, and it might feel kind of intense to have your fingers in there. Okay, on either side of your breastbone, and usually like the further down I go towards the tip of my sternum or breastbone, like the weirder things feel. So my pinkies, I'm always kind of like, they feel like little knives. But let's just take a few breaths here. Okay, a few breaths with maybe a little bit of this intensity. Good. All right, and then let's take those little sweeping motions again, kind of dragging the fingertips from the center out to the sides. From here, let's make our way onto our backs again, because I think it'll be nice for us to give our shoulders a little bit of a break. And as you come to find your back, I'm thinking it might be nice to come into a restorative bridge pose. So if you have a bolster nearby or a block, you can place it underneath your pelvis. Good, and then let's just take a moment to get comfortable, to get as comfortable as possible. A blanket underneath your head, or maybe you have a blanket on top of you for a little bit of warmth. And we're going to do a little bit of psoas massage and a little bit of diaphragm massage here. And both of these things I have found to be really beneficial for just feeling a little less anxious when things are stressful. Both your diaphragm and your psoas mobilize and kind of tense up in stressful times.
your psoas so that you can like run from something, and your diaphragm so that you can take in like these short, intense breaths. So let's take a little bit of time to kind of work on that. Let's take our fingertips and find our lower ribs, maybe starting right there near the breastbone. And you're just going to take those fingertips and walk them up and down those inner parts of your ribs here, those little inner points of the ribs where your diaphragm attaches in the front. Good. It might even like resemble a scratch or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be like rubbing or pressure. It might be more like the scratching. And if you can slide those fingertips kind of underneath in a really gentle and easygoing way, it might be nice. And let's take a little bit of time here. Maybe like a good 2 minutes or so, just massaging the diaphragm. Good. As you're doing this, notice your breath. And if it feels like your breath is pretty rapid, you might slow down the movement or make it a little less forceful or a little less pressure. Good. A few more deep breaths here. Okay, and then let's take our hands down to our hip points and just massage up and down the hip points, kind of to the inside edge of them. So this is our iliacus muscle, which joins up with the psoas muscle to become your hip flexors. So just take a few moments, kind of pressing into this more superficial muscle. Right, and then we're gonna maybe slide that right leg out long if that feels okay with your lower back and your hip. And if you're good there, yeah, we're gonna stay here for a little bit. If not, you can rebend that knee and it's totally fine. But here, we're just gonna take a little bit of time to kind of pulse that leg a little bit or bounce that leg. And then maybe your hand is on that hip and you're sort of pressing in as you're bouncing that leg around. And you could bring your hand up to your belly and see if you can notice where in your belly you're feeling movement here. Good. Bouncing that leg and pressing in and remembering to breathe. Good, and then find a little bit of stillness with that leg. Just let the toes flop out to the sides. Yeah, and if it feels okay, you might take that, the heel of your right hand and kind of press it down into the top of that right hip or into your lower right belly just a little bit. And then you might take your left fingers and bring them up to the diaphragm here, or to those lower ribs, and sort of draw these two places apart very, very, very gently. Good, just creating a little bit of space in the belly. Good, last last breath or two here. Okay, let's bend that right knee. And before we go to the other side, let's take whatever it is underneath our pelvis and bring it out and just set our pelvis back down on the ground. And then we're gonna rock our knees from side to side with our hands on our belly. So this is like probably my favorite thing ever, right here. So as you rock your knees side to side, you might keep your hands sort of loosely together and just kind of rub them around your body in a big circle. So moving from those lower ribs down through the low belly and then back up and around. Good. If you are going in one direction, make sure to go in the other direction too. Just a few more moments like this. Good, and then let's come back through to the center and either hang here in your constructive rest with your knees up. You might extend your legs out long for Shavasana, and we'll just spend about 5 breaths or so in the middle. Just allowing ourselves a bit of stillness. And notice your eyes and soften the corners of your eyes, the muscles that move them. Good. Last few breaths here. All right, and then we're going to bring the soles of the feet back down to the ground if your legs are out long, and we're just going to drop the knees over to the right this time, coming into a little bit of a twist here. Good, and as you find the twist again, get yourself as comfortable as possible, maybe a little pillow underneath the head. And then from here, we're going to take our hands and interlace them. So our fingers are going to be interlaced, and we're going to take our hands up as far on the side of the rib cage as we can, and just slide the hands down the left side body here. Good, from the side of the chest, all the way down through the hip. Good. Okay, maybe you're picking up your hands when you come to the bottom and then bringing them back up to the top and moving in one direction, kind of this up to down, or maybe you want to move back and forth. And sort of squeezing into the sides with the heels of your hands. Good, and this twist here, just another few breaths. Good, and then if it feels all right with the shoulders, you might take both of your hands and bring them underneath your head and let your elbows splay out to the sides. Good, cradling your own head in your hands, and just take a few breaths like this, maybe 10 breaths or so. Good, you might cross one ankle on top of the other, or snuggle the feet together somehow. Just another few breaths. All right, and then let's make our way back onto our backs, and we'll locate our block or our bolster, whatever you have around you to help you lift up your pelvis off of the ground. And let's find that restorative bridge pose again. Okay, this gentle inversion. Good, elevating your hips above your heart. Yeah, and just notice how the hips and the low back feel here for a few breaths. And then if it feels okay to slide that left leg out long, then slide it out long. And if not, that knee can be bent. But let's take the left hand and bring it over there to the inner part of that hip point. And just kind of press into those superficial muscles. Good, really feeling your belly. The softness of your skin. Your skin touching clothing maybe. All right, and then think about just kind of tapping that foot. All right, so yeah, so making that leg bounce a little bit here. And as you bounce that leg, you might move your hand up towards your belly. It might stay down near your hip. You might just press in and kind of hold your hand in one point and notice what's going on underneath the surface. Maybe your hand rests like a big tiger paw or something like that on top of your hip. Or maybe there's that bit of digging in, or the raking with your fingertips. Just take a few breaths to feel this. All right, and then let's slow that down. And then we're going to take the right hand and place it on the left hip, right hand on the left hip point, and just kind of press it down. I take that back. Left heel of the hand presses down on the left hip point. And then take your right fingers up to the left lower ribs and just kind of draw them away from each other. So pressing the hip down towards the foot and sort of pulling the fingertips up towards the shoulder, towards the chest. Yeah, creating a little bit of space in the belly. And notice what your jaw's doing for a moment. Soften your jaw. Take a few really big breaths. Good, and we'll go ahead and rebend that left knee and just take the sole of the foot down to the ground. Pick up your hips, set your pelvis back down. And let's hang here just for a moment. Okay, let your hands rest somewhere on your body that feels like a good spot for you. Could be anywhere. Maybe on the tops of your thighs, or maybe you want to take your hands onto the top of your head and press in, or somewhere on your torso. Good. Another maybe 10 breaths or so here before we move into our twist. Good. And as you feel your breath moving in and out of your body, just again, notice the skin moving on your clothing or pressing into the ground underneath you. couple more breaths that are maybe just a little bit slower. Okay, and then let's take a moment to find your twist. These will drop over to the left this time. And it might feel nice to take your fingers and interlace them again and create that little like fence. And we'll just slide the hands either in that downward motion from the side of your chest down to your hip. Or maybe you want to slide the hands up and down, or maybe just up. I guess that didn't occur to me before, but maybe you prefer to just move from the hip to the shoulder. So much of this practice is an intuitive practice. And it's kind of listening into your body and noticing what sort of pressure is right, what sort of length of the movement, good time that you spend in any one place. And so if you take any of these practices with you, turn them into your own, and just use them as you need to. All right, and then from here, after this little bit of side body massage, you might reach your arms out or even set your head down into your hands with your elbows splayed out. Good, and just enjoying this twist. Good, so about another 5 breaths or so here. And just notice how the head feels and how the neck feels. And if your head is resting on your hands, you might think about rocking your head side to side so that your hands kind of press into the back of your head. A little scalp massage. We're gonna practice a really long scalp massage later. Maybe just a little something for now. All right, and then let's roll over onto our left side. Okay, rolling all the way over. Once again, curling up into that fetal position. Maybe you're taking a block or a bolster underneath your head. There might be a blanket on top of you somehow. Yep, cozying up. Good, and then from here, let's take that left hand and bring it up into your right underarm. And then just close it off for a moment. Again, finding that pressure in your heart one point. Good, as you kind of close that right arm off and set the elbow down on the side of your body. Good, press the fingertips into the underarm and relax the muscles of your face. And you might even take that left thumb and find that spot on the side of your chest, that lung point that we were sort of digging into before. It's almost like you're grabbing that meat under your arm here. Good. Lung one and heart one. Good. And you're welcome to stay here with your arm just like this, just giving yourself a little squeeze into these 2 points. Or you might decide to kind of move that arm around. Maybe you're moving that top arm around in a big circle. Maybe you're just reaching it out past the head or behind you. Okay, it could be moving in like a big movement, or maybe it's just these small little movements. Sweeping the arm this direction and that direction. Good. And thinking of that top arm, the one that's swinging around here, notice how the hand on that arm feels, how the wrist feels, your elbow, and then finally that shoulder that you're kind of digging into. Good. Another moment like this. And then let's go ahead and just set that arm down and stack the hands and rest in fetal position for a moment. Good. Another couple of breaths here. And then we're just going to do that same thing on the other side. So take your time, roll yourself onto your back or your belly. Doesn't matter where you end up on your way to the other side. Maybe you do want to spend a moment, settle down onto your belly, letting your back be free, letting your back rise and fall. And so much of self-massage is like a slowing down too. So just remember that there's like no rush ever, but especially with this. Good. Yeah. When you do end up getting over to the other side, just on your own time, you're going to find a little bit of stillness there too. So a few breaths here, and then a few breaths there. Good. Rolling over onto your right side. I'm just going to flip around so I can keep on looking at everybody. Good. As you flip over onto your right side, now just take notice of that left shoulder. Good. Let's reach that arm up and then just dig your fingers into your underarm again. A little pressure there. Okay, set that arm down. Hang here for a moment. And then, yeah, when you feel ready, you can take that thumb and just look for that tender spot, that lung 1 point on the side of the chest, just to the inside of the underarm. And just take a few breaths here with those 2 points. Good. As you give that a little squeeze, then you might decide to move that arm around. Okay, maybe as you move that arm around, the pressure gets a little bit less or a little bit more. Maybe you feel inclined to squeeze in a whole lot, or maybe you just want to set your hand there. Or maybe simply the act of moving the arm around is enough. And you don't need all the pressure. Yeah, but just taking a few moments to feel what's going on there. To feel the hand of the arm that is moving around, and to soften your fingers. And to soften the palm of your hand and your wrist. And then your forearm and elbow. And then finally just notice the shoulder and your head and your face. Good. A few more deep breaths. All right, and then let's curl back up into that fetal position on this side now. And it might be nice to sort of wrap your arms around each other. Again, maybe to cross an ankle or to tuck your chin in towards your chest and maybe even touch your forehead or the top of your head as you rest in this shape. Just a few more breaths here. All right, and then let's take a little bit of time to move back up into a seated position. Thanking the ground for holding our shoulders, giving them a little bit of a break. All right. Hi. We're upright again. And I think what we're going to do next is sink into a pretty long yin pose, a butterfly pose, which is essentially just this. You with the soles of your feet together out in front of you. They can be any distance away from you. You might sit up on things. You might slide a bolster underneath your knees for support. But really what we're trying to do here is just to touch our feet. Okay, who cares about that other stuff right now? Let's not focus too much on the hips or the back. Let's focus on what it feels like to touch our own feet. Oh, this can be done in a chair. This can be done side lying. Good, we're just taking a little bit of time squeezing our arches, squeezing our toes, maybe moving them around a little bit, squeezing them and moving them almost like in a twisting motion. And don't forget your ankles. And so most of our ability to locate our body in space is governed by receptors around our ankles. Yeah. So just keeping that in mind about how we know where we are in space because of our ankles. Give them that nice little squeeze, that little circular massage. In addition to that, our kidney meridians, our liver and gallbladder meridians all pass through our ankles. So all these organs of processing and assimilation and getting rid of waste. This all goes through our ankles and our feet. So we're going to spend a little bit of time with some grounding points on our feet next. The first of which is going to be our liver 2 point. I'm really hesitant to take off my socks because I'm just always cold. But I'm going to do it just for the heck of it. Liver 2 is this point that is located right about here. Okay, so it's right about here, in between your big toe and your second toe, and maybe like, I don't know, an inch, a half an inch-ish down onto the top of your foot. So we'll take a little bit of time just sort of pressing into this point.
This is a commonly needled point too if you happen to go to acupuncture. If you go to acupuncture and say that you're feeling anxious, you will always get this point needled. And it can be sort of intense sometimes. So this is like a little like window into our parasympathetic nervous system. This is a way for us to feel a little bit more stable and grounded. So yeah, it can be like a circular massage here, or again, maybe even that like digging in of your fingertips. And just know that you can always drop your head down here too to relieve some of the tension on your shoulders if that feels right for you. Maybe you just want to sit up, and that's also fine. Good. As you press into this point, just notice your toes and if they feel sort of like crunched up, or if they feel nice and loose. And then let's trace a line from that webbing in between our big toe and our second toe up to the ankle, all the way up the top of the foot. So yeah, so we're moving just from the toe up to the ankle. Okay, and then let's take our entire hand and just kind of sweep the top of the foot and up the front of the ankle here. Good, and for a moment, let's extend those legs out long and give our hips a tiny little break and just kind of shake the legs out a little bit here. So I'm kind of pointing and flexing the feet. I'm looking down at my feet and realizing I have big red marks on my liver 2 points. So kind of massaging your sitting bones on the ground with this little side to side action. All right, and then we have one more point on our foot that I really want to hit before we do like a general foot thing. This is kidney 1. Kidney 1 is located in between, just right underneath your second toe, right where the skin changes color, between the ball mound and the arch. Yeah. So this is another super powerful grounding point. It said that this is where earth chi enters your body. So that idea of walking around outside barefoot, that is to bring earth chi up through this kidney 1 point and into the rest of your body. I like to take like stones from the lake and put them in hot water and then step on them on this point. It feels so good. If I'm feeling a little like up in my head and not too in my body, it can be really nice. Good, so just maybe like, I don't know, a minute or so of squeezing this guy. This little kidney 1 point. Good, last couple of breaths. All right, and just go ahead and release that, and let's take our hands and interlace the fingers and just kind of swim our hands around here and swim them around in the other direction. And then we'll press those palms back out again, just to stretch them. Our hands are doing so much work tonight. Thank you, hands. Okay, good. So from here, we're going to do a little bit of an uncomfortable something or other that sort of requires you to not be wearing socks. If you want to leave your socks on and to opt out of this, like I would never ever judge. It is a little iffy and strange, but it feels so good after a while. Essentially, we're putting our fingers in between our toes. So I have my right ankle crossed on top of my left knee. I might put a block under here too, just for support.
And yeah, so as you slide a finger in between your toes, maybe it's all your fingers in between all your toes, maybe not. But just kind of take notice of how that feels. And if it feels like you want to move the toes around a little bit, you're welcome to do that. And maybe you even want to take that ankle around in a couple of circles, kind of cranking here. Yeah. This one always gets me. And if you're taking those circles, go in both directions. Good, and then let's take both hands and just squeeze the foot from your ankle down to your toes and back up again. Some big squeezes. Just go ahead and let it go. And we'll spend a moment either lying down or sitting up in sort of a neutral feeling position for you. Maybe it's seated, maybe you want to take constructive rest. And let's just take a moment here with our hands on our knees perhaps, or down on the ground, palms facing up. Good, and notice sensation in your hands. As you inhale, imagine that you could inhale through the tips of your fingers into the center of the chest. And then as you exhale, imagine that breath can move back out, down the arms, out through the fingertips. Good. A few breaths like that. Think about moving very, very slowly, taking your hands up and off of your knees or the floor if you're lying down. And you're just going to sort of move the hands so that they are coming in towards the heart, and you're moving really, really, really slowly. Good. And then as you come towards the heart, you're going to pretend like you're sort of holding this ball in front of you. And you're just going to sort of move your hands around as if you're holding this ball in front of your heart. Good. Maybe the hands move side to side, top to bottom. And just a few breaths like this. And just notice any sensations. Place one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. A couple moments like this. Breath in and a good breath out. All right, and now let's just find our other foot. So maybe we'll extend, I'm going to send my right leg out long this time. My left ankle folded on top. A little something under the knee for my outer knee support. And then, fingers in between the toes, and this might be like the foot that doesn't want this. I discovered recently when I was getting my feet measured for hiking boots that one of my feet is much more narrow and tall than the other one, and that would be this foot. So it really dislikes this. But just sort of take notice of how things are feeling. Okay, there's not a symmetrical person among us. We are all kind of askew. I think that's one of the things that makes us really, really beautiful, actually. Good. So taking a little bit of time just to notice the differences side to side. If it feels like a little crank of the ankle might be nice, you could go there. Maybe just go there with some trepidation over here. But one thing I love about like a self-touch practice or a self-massage practice is like you're never gonna hurt yourself. You know? Like I've had some massages in the past where I'm like, damn, that was intense. But like when it's you, and you know when to back off immediately. So just kind of easing in, you know? Good. A few more breaths. Okay, and then just extract those fingers, whoa, from your toes. And yeah, let's give the feet a little squeeze here. Good, squeezing your entire foot with your hopefully kind of warm hands. Okay, don't forget those ankles. Give them a nice little squeeze here too. Good, and then we'll find our neutral seated position just one more time before we actually like stand up. I think it's gonna happen. I have a feeling. Good, so as you find your neutral seated position, let's take the palms and place them down on the knees or down on the ground or just wherever they can be down on something. Good, and sit up nice and tall if you're seated. Okay, feel the connection of your palms to whatever's underneath them. And notice your breathing. Good, and just allow your hands to be nice and soft. And we're going to practice a little something called the microcosmic orbit, which is not about self-touch. It's just a little bit more of like a meditation technique. And we take a little trip through our body. So let's start kind of near the belly button, maybe just a little bit above it. Good. As you inhale, kind of trace a line down the front of the belly, around the tip of the tailbone, up to the top of the head, inhaling all the way to your third eye. And then as you exhale, bring it down from your third eye, down the front of your body. Good, all the way back down to that point just above your belly button. Good, and then inhale down and around, and up and around to the third eye. And then exhale down the front of the body. Good, 2 more times. Inhaling down, around, up, and around. Exhale, third eye to low belly. And one more time. Good. And just take one more moment here, noticing sensation in your hands, specifically palms and fingertips. Feel them making contact with something. All right, and let's practice a mudra for good measure. Fearless heart mudra. So arms are going to be like the letter X, and we'll hook our pinkies together, and then we'll hook our ring fingers together, and then we'll hook our index fingers, and then touch the thumb pad to the middle finger pad on both sides. Yeah, good. And then let's just kind of sit here for a moment. And mudras are a way to touch ourselves to create kind of this catalyst for internal energetic change. I think. At least that's what happens for me. And at the very least, it can just be a reminder of what the mudra is all about. And this one is Fearless Heart Mudra, which is all about kind of having this internal place that you know is there, right? This internal state that's available when you need it, that can handle just about anything, that knows when to rest, okay, that knows what you need. Okay, it's all sort of situated in your heart. Let's take 10 breaths or so, just like this. Good. Last breath or two. And then release your hands. Give them a little wiggle. And give your wrists a little roll around, or maybe even some little figure eights here. Yeah, do anything. Like, do one of these if you want to. I don't know. What is it, like this one? Can do this dance move. It's Friday night. No? Okay. Let's stand up. I think it's time. Yeah. It's definitely time to stand up. Okay. And maybe we'll just take like a minute or so to stand up, to kind of move things out of the way. We're not going to be using a whole lot of prop action while we're standing. Maybe you want a sip of tea. And so this is something that I learned in my movement for trauma training, and I have been doing it every morning, and I swear it's almost as good as drinking coffee. It's basically just hitting yourself. So let's get started. You're gonna smack our left leg. And we're waking up our body quadrants here. So we're gonna smack up and down the left leg. And we're giving it like a good little smack. And think about your butt too. Like smack your own butt. Smack your inner thigh. This is your body. You are allowed to touch it. You can touch it wherever you want. But really thinking about creating that sensation both in your hands and in your limb. And as you do this, say to yourself, this is my left leg. This is nobody else's left leg. This is my left leg. My strong left leg. Good. Another breath or two like this. And then we're going to move over to the right leg, same thing. Give it a good little smack here, waking up the hands, waking up the thigh, the knee, the calf, the ankle. Get your butt, get your hip, get your inner thigh. Good. A few more breaths. Okay, and then we're going to come up and we're just going to pat our low belly like this. Give it a good little something. Go ahead, pat around your low back. Good, and then let's take that right hand onto the left arm and just give it a little smack up and down the arm. You can feel free to move that left arm all the way around as you do this. You can keep that left arm still too, and mostly move the right arm. It's up to you. Get the shoulder, your underarm, side of your chest, waking up that whole left upper quadrant. Yeah. Good. And then let's take it on over to the right.
Good, all the way around that shoulder. Good. Good, down to the elbow, the wrist, around the forearm. Good. And then let's take our hands onto our heart and take that little bit of sweeping motion again.
Oh, wow.
Notice and feel your body.
Oh, it feels like it's buzzing. Your
Yeah,
body's buzzing.
that's awesome. Good. A few more breaths. Keeping your heart nice and soft here this whole time. All right, and then let's take some time just to fold forward if this feels okay for you. If folding forward is not your favorite thing, you can really bend the knees here. There's no law that says your legs have to be straight. And let's do this again. Let's kind of roll our hands around our ankles here. Give them a little bit of a massage. Good, and let's inhale. And as you lift up halfway so that your spine is parallel with the floor, take your hands up the fronts of your legs. And as you exhale, wrap your hands around your glutes, slide your hands down the backs of your legs, drop the head. And let's do that a few times, bringing your hands up the fronts of your legs, and then down around the backs of your legs. Good, moving slowly.
Oh my God, baby.
Good, another breath or two.
My ear is like just like unclogged or something.
Freaking out right now. Good, so just moving a little bit more like this.
No, I'm kidding. She's talking about.
Good. And then we're gonna bring ourselves all the way up to standing, and we're gonna take our hands on our hips. And just like we kind of grabbed a hold of our hip points while we were laying down, we're gonna find them here too. And we're gonna take our feet so that they're just about like hip socket distance or a little wider. And we're gonna send our hips around in a figure 8 with our hands on our hips. And we're just gonna kind of slide our hands around the sides of our hips as we move our hips side to side, which feels a little strange to be doing. There's something really nice about this sort of movement. It's a bilateral movement, it's this figure 8 movement. Your brain really enjoys this kind of movement. And then we're gonna take it the other direction. So see what happens when you try to go the other direction with both your hands and your hips. Maybe it's good, maybe it's extra awkward. But that's okay, we can do awkward things. Yeah, it's just a couple more moments like this. And then we're gonna take some more time to fold forward here, if that's okay with your body. And as you fold forward here, I just want to encourage you to maybe interlace those fingers again like we did before, and then just sort of slide the heels of your hands up and down the sides of your spine, up and down those paraspinal muscles. Good, maybe pressing into your kidneys a little bit. Good. It might be nice to kind of get into your glutes a little bit here, sort of dragging your fingers from the tailbone area out to the sides. Good. From the center out to the sides, just below your sacrum. Good. And then I want us all to maybe focus a little bit on the base of the skull. Okay, so you could rest your hands there if you want to. You might gently tug at your hair, like give it a little pull, or just massage the base of the skull with your fingertips. Good, and let's just stay here for 5 breaths or so. from here, we're gonna make our way back down to the floor, I am thinking. So, just take your time to find a seat. You can sit on your couch for this next bit. You can pull up a chair. I just wanted to talk to you for a moment about what I consider to be kind of like a life-changing practice. It's Ayurvedic self-massage, and it's something that is part of the daily routine. Supposedly every morning, you're supposed to spend about 20 minutes just massaging yourself with oil before you get in the shower. So some folks might not really need the oil. Some folks might really need the oil. Like this time of year, I feel like it's a necessity, not just for my skin, but also for like just feeling a sense of groundedness. There are many different types of oils that you can use for this. It's something that's kind of beyond the scope of what I'm going to be talking about this evening, which is just the nuts and bolts of this massage. But yeah, ideally this is done before you get in the shower, and it's done with oil. If you're at home and you have some oil around and you want to bust it out, you're welcome to get oily at home. Also, if you're here in the space, I have some oils up here as well. I've got some jojoba oil, which is a really wonderful kind of neutral, mostly hypoallergenic carrier oil. The oils that I have chosen here in the studio are Atlas cedarwood, balsam fir needle. I have this oil called Tranquility. If you've ever been here, I've probably rubbed this on you at some point. I've been using it for years. It smells amazing. And then there's cypress and cardamom. So these are all kind of nice wintry sorts of things. But we all have oils that we like to use, or maybe not. If you'd like to come up and grab a little bit of oil, you're welcome to. You're certainly not required to. Yeah, so Abhyanga, or oil massage, is something that begins at the top of the head. So I'm going to get very oily this evening, a little oily. It starts at the top of the head, and ideally the oil is sort of warm when you use it. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be. Dive in, but you want to make sure that it's not like cold. And we're just going to rub our hands together with the oil, and then we're going to start at the very top of the head. So we are looking for the topmost point of our body. And we're just going to kind of dig our fingers in there a little bit. Again, I say dig in that, gentle, loving way. For me, a nice little like circular kind of scratch feels good. Good. Thinking about maybe even tugging hair if it's something you feel like doing, something that feels right for you. And kind of pulling straight up if you are doing that, as if to kind of wake up your crown. So Abhyanga is a way to boost your circulatory system. It's a way to circulate lymph through your body, but also has just a really nice, deep, soothing effect on your nervous system. Good. So once you feel like you've hit the top of your head pretty good, then we're just going to give it like a broad stroke. So all the way around the top of your head. Both hands really getting in there. Your thumbs working the sides of your head now. And think about that space back behind your ears. After you leave here tonight, Google gallbladder meridian and take a look at the odd zigzag of points that we have going on back behind our ears on the sides of our head. Good. So just taking a little bit more time with this kind of top and sides of the scalp massage. We say you should spend 5 to 10 minutes on your head and neck every day. Think about how much better life would be if we actually did that. We actually took that time. And it's funny, I know I often think, well, I don't have that time, but I know I spend that time like scrolling. So like, I know it's there somewhere. So just thinking about moving around to the back of the head now, maybe not down to the base of the skull exactly,
But if you're laying down on the ground, like the part of your head that would be in contact with the ground, right around there, give that a nice little massage. And it might be this like moving from the center and out, or maybe you're sort of taking a circular massage. Again, this is all really intuitive. Good, and then you're going to sweep those thumbs down to the base of the skull. And we sort of did this before, but just giving yourself a little bit of pressure there with your thumbs. Good, so part of the massage would be that facial massage that we did before. I think we might not do that right now simply because we just touched our feet up. So ideally you hit your face before your feet. Good. We just know that that's part of it. And then let's take our fingertips and drag them down the sides of the neck. Okay, from the base of the skull, down around the sides of the neck, over the collarbones, down to the center of the chest. And just a few times like that. So the beautiful thing about Abhyanga massage, aside from the fact that it feels amazing, is that it's moving from the further points of your body and it moves everything into the heart. So starting here with the head and the neck, we're just thinking about bringing our hands from the head all the way down to the heart. Okay, attention from the outer parts of ourselves to this central part of ourselves. A few more breaths like this. Okay, and then let's take a moment to let our hands rest. Good. Okay, you notice your hands, palms facing up, maybe on your lap again. Notice sensation in your palms and in your fingertips. I don't know about you, but my hands feel very like alive right now. A lot of sensation. Good, and then we're going to move up our limbs. So let's stretch that left leg out long and reach for the foot. And just squeeze the foot. We're gonna squeeze the foot from the toes to the ankle. So it's these like kind of broad stroke motions here. And again, this can be done in the chair. This can be done on your side. Good, and so moving from the toes up to the ankle. And then this is an important part of it. When you get to the joints, it is a circular motion. So whatever, oh, there's the plow. So whatever that circular motion looks like, I'm kind of drawing a circle around my inner and outer ankle, but you might take your hands and kind of move them around the entirety of your ankle, like you're driving the bus or something. Good, and then you're gonna move those fingers up that lower leg, okay, from your ankle to your knee. Good, and just imagine if you're covering yourself in oil now. What would that feel like? Might be real nice. And it's said that this can help you get to sleep at night. Yeah, if you're having trouble falling asleep, that bit of self-massage with that oil. And then sleeping in some greasy clothes. Can be really good. I have like one special hat in my house that's like my grease hat. Sounds so gross, but massaging your scalp before bed is amazing. Good, and then once you get to your knee, oh my God, do it. Like just rub your knee up, maybe give it a squeeze. You might move around your patella or your kneecap in a circle. Or you might take your thumbs and sort of move them in a circle around the sides of your knee. Good, fingertips might come in towards the back of the knee. Good, and then we're gonna move up the thigh here. So just moving from the knee up to the hip.
take our, your glutes are part of this too. So you're sort of rubbing your low belly, you're rubbing your glutes, and you're rubbing up the side of your body here, just like this, and kind of dragging it up towards the heart. Yeah. So even from the leg, we're moving up towards the heart. Yeah. Good. All right. And then once you feel good and ready, let's just come on out of this, and we'll extend the other leg out sort of long here, and we'll reach down for that foot. And we'll sweep up the foot here from your toes up to your ankle. Good. Notice how your foot feels. Notice how your ankle feels. What your toes are doing. Good. And then let's make that circular movement around your ankle, maybe around the bone. Maybe you're taking your hands and just kind of dragging them around your ankle. A little bit of both, maybe. Good, and then let's move up the lower leg from the ankle to the knee. Get to your knee and take real good care of it. Roll your hands around it. Give it a little squeeze. All right, and then from knee up to the thigh. Good. Get the back of your thigh, get the inner and outer thigh. Yeah, get your glutes too. I don't know, recently in my yoga classes, I've been like, just touch your butt, nobody's looking. I like to believe most people are doing it, but who knows? If you're at home, I certainly hope you are. And here too. Good, and then let's bring our hands from our hip up our side body. Good, sort of just like guiding from the hip up to the heart here, up into the lower chest, center of the chest. So it's kind of hard to get your own back, but one thing you could do is take one of those natural bristle brushes with a long handle and sort of approach this with the dry brush. Yeah, my arms won't get my whole back. Good, so let's take a moment and find kind of a neutral shape. Maybe even fold forward a little bit if that feels like a thing that your body wants to do. The next we'll do our arms, but let's give ourselves a tiny break first. Again, feeling your hands, feeling the sensation in your hands. Noticing your wrists, letting them soften, along with the muscles of your forearms and your elbows. Good. Let your upper arms soften and your shoulders too. Good, and then very slowly, if you're folding forward, just sit yourself back up. And let's take the right hand onto the left hand, and you're just gonna kind of flip that left hand as you slide the right palm up the back of the hand, then up the palm. And moving from the fingertips down to the wrist. Good. And then as you get to the wrist, we sort of did this before, but yes, let's move it in that circle again.
then moving from the wrist up to the elbow. Yeah, you might like cup your entire forearm with your hand or move it on the top side and the bottom side. And then once you get to your elbow, that circular movement. Oof. Today that feels a little weird, actually. Another really wonderful thing about this practice is that, I don't know, I mean, I am endlessly curious about my body and what's going on in there, so it's always kind of like, wow, what's that? Kind of sense of wonder maintenance, you know? Good, and then from elbow up to the shoulder, let's take those broad strokes. Yeah, nice. And then hand around the shoulder in whatever way makes sense. That might include the underarm or not. And eventually it's this inward movement towards the heart. And a lot of the time we're moving out from the heart. So this is a nice like reversal of that. Good, let the hands sit on the heart here. Let your elbows soften down. And just take a moment to pause. Okay, and then last arm. Let's take our left hand onto our right hand, and we're gonna flip that right hand over, back and forth, palm up, then palm down, and sweep that left hand from the fingertips towards the wrist. If you were doing Abhyanga at home, you might do that finger thing that we started off with, where you're squeezing each one of your fingers as you do this. But we've already done that. So this is kind of more of like the broad stroke here. And yeah, you can get really like detailed with it, or you can take these big broad strokes. It's totally up to you and just whatever you have time for and whatever feels best. Good, and then hand will move around that wrist. Give it a little squeeze. Good, and then from the wrist up to the elbow, taking those broad strokes up the forearm. All right, and then once you get to your elbow, give it a little something. Yeah. I know that's very scientific and not vague at all. Okay, but again, this is a practice that, that you will build over time. Okay, the idea is to just touch yourself in ways that feel really good to you. So that might be a squeezing, or that might be these circular rolling motions. Good, and then let's move up to the upper arm. Nice broad strokes. And then up into your shoulder. And maybe you're not ignoring the underarm. Maybe you're going there. It's another mission of mine, is to get everybody to appreciate their underarms a little more. Good, and then from the shoulder to the heart, sweeping it in. And let's spend one more moment here, sitting up. Good, palms facing up on your knees. Notice the sensation in your hands. And just like we did before, one more time, let's begin to move our hands up and away from our knees. Good. Feeling the sensations in your palms and your fingers as you move your hands towards each other, your palms towards each other. And then once they're almost touching each other but not quite, then start to sort of roll the hands around as if you have your hands on a ball. Noticing sensation, if it's there. Noticing your breath. Yeah, nice. Just a couple more breaths. And then we'll take our hands back onto our heart here and just let them stack one on top of the other. And notice the breath coming in and out, moving your chest, your low ribs. Good, your belly and the middle of your back. And then feel your seat on the ground. And think about each one of your sitting bones, both of your sitting bones kind of pressing down, the low ribs lifting up, the collarbones broadening, just for one last little bit of effort here, sitting up tall. Good. Feel the heart lift just a little bit, and then we're going to drop our head back. And notice your hands on your heart. Notice how it feels in the throat, around your collarbones, and that little notch in between your collarbones. Maybe the base of your skull is sort of touching into your upper back or not. Good. And then we'll bring ourselves back through to center. And I thought we would lie down for, 7 or 8 minutes. Yeah. Because that was a lot. You just did a lot of work, actually. There's a reason why massage therapists make a bunch of money. Because it's actually quite a bit of work to manipulate your body with your hands. So when you come to lie down, you might have a blanket rolled up underneath your spine, or a bolster underneath your spine or under your hips. If you have a favorite restorative yoga pose, you might go there. Maybe you need a child's pose after all this, or to curl up into a ball. And maybe you want to lay on your belly. Let's just take a little bit of time to do nothing. And I'm definitely on a mission to get people to do more nothing. And it's just, not the easiest thing, I think, to step away and to just let things be for any amount of time. But with practice, it gets so much easier. And just stepping away from all of that work you did and noticing how your body feels right now. And just know that there's no wrong answer for that. Sometimes self-touch is really wonderfully relaxing, and other times it can stir things up. So just notice what's happening. No judgment. extended out in some way, it might be nice to place your hands somewhere on your body, anywhere that feels like the right place for you. And you might, if you feel comfortable doing it, you might rub your hands together again and slide your hands down your face like we did in the beginning. If you feel a little weirded out by touching your feet and then doing that, you don't have to. Another nice option might be to grab a hold of your ears again and give them a little tug, or grab a hold of your hair to wake yourself up a little bit, or rub around the backs of the ears like we did before. All of these are nice ways to sort of bring you out of like sluggishness. And just taking a few moments to make some small movements to wake up your physical body a little bit, but hopefully not too much. Good. And then, yeah, take your time just to find a seated position again, if you want to. Okay. If you're at home and you just want to lay around and keep on rubbing yourself, you're more than welcome to. If you're in the studio eventually, I have to go home. So, yeah, there's no rush, but just saying. Eventually we'll all have to sit up. And if you are home and you want to turn on your camera and take a look so we can see each other, that would be nice, but again, not required. And we'll just spend a moment here kind of sitting and breathing, yeah. And it might be with your fingertips on either side of your heart, like we did before. Or maybe you just want to give yourself a little hug. Good. Doesn't even have to be a giant squeezy hug. It can just be like a little hug. One hand resting on your shoulder, the other hand resting on the side of your chest or upper back. Good. Just knowing that you got yourself. And taking a few more deep breaths here. Okay, and then just release that hug. And we'll take our hands and set them one more time on our heart as this little gesture of gratitude to your body for being this amazing thing that brings you through this life. And thanking yourself for taking a couple hours out of your evening for a little bit of self-care and self-soothing. And I am really grateful that you all arrived in whatever capacity and share this time with me. Yay. So thank you, and go forth and touch yourselves. And if anybody wants to turn on their mic or throw something up in the chat, anything to share, any thoughts at all, feel free. Oh, but I'm grateful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Oh, and bearing with me. Oh, I see you, Casey. Hello. And then Emily. Hi, Faye. Hi, Lindsay.
How's it going? Thank you so much. This was lovely. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed. Have a
Yeah,
really good night. You look very relaxed.
I feel very relaxed. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I see Kim. There's Megan. Thanks so. Oh yeah, you are so welcome. Oh, feeling so much peace right now. Yay! I am too. Thanks. Thanks so much for being here. Oh, so fun. I'll see you all later.